Key Eagles, it's time to reflect. Today we're going to see how using data can help us grow. As NYP learners, it is important that you are reflective. This means that you take time to think about what you learn and ways to improve. Today we will review your MAPR scores to determine your areas of strength and identify what's needed to grow. Be sure to keep this document for your records. Before we begin, let's explain what the MAPR is. MAP stands for Measure of Academic Progress. Here at Key, this test is very important and plays several roles. This computer-based test creates a personalized test that adapts to each student's learning level, measures progress and growth for each individual, and gives important information about your understanding to help your teachers with instruction. So, each of you should have your own student goal setting worksheet. This sheet can be pretty confusing, so let's take a moment to review it. The first number you should take note of is the overall RIT score. This is a total grade received each time you've taken the test. For some, there may be two, one in the winter and the other in the spring. The next number you should take note of is your projected RIT score. This is what the system projects you will receive on your next test this fall. If you really want a challenge, try going above and beyond this score. Now that you've identified these important numbers, take a moment to plot them on your graph. In the previous example, the student earned a 196 on the winter exam. Some of you may have been exempt and did not take this test, so you'd leave that part blank. In the spring, the student topped the winter score with a 212, so that's plotted in the second column. The third column is where you will plot the projected score, which for that student was a 216. The final column is probably the most important. This is where you will plot your next level of proficiency, which will be your fall 2006 goal. This is where you determine what's needed to take you from basic to proficient or proficient to advanced. As you can see, there are several benchmarks or scores for each grade level that tells you if you're basic, proficient, or advanced. See the chart to determine where you fall according to your grade level. If we look at the example of the student who's in 7th grade, that student's score will fall under basic for 212. However, in order to go to the next level of proficiency, he or she would need a 213. This would make them proficient. Going back to your own chart, this is where you want to plot that score. Again, the goal is to set a goal and make it. After you plotted your score on the graph, begin reflecting using the questions below the graph. Question 1, what is the next level of proficiency for you? This means, what do you need to go from basic to proficient or proficient to advanced? Looking back at the example, that student had a 212 and needed a 213 to be proficient, so that's what they would note here. Question number 2. This is where you're going to use those really cool math skills that you've learned. Based on the information on your chart, how much growth is needed in order to achieve your goal for the fall 2016 MAPRs? This is where you take that new goal and subtract it by what you already had. This student needs a 213, but had a 212. So all they really need is 1 point, but I'm sure they probably pushed past that. The last and final question is really a reflective question. This is where you sit back and think about things that you can do in order to achieve this goal. It can be something like, I can take my time and review my answers. Or, I can focus more. Or, I can go to bed early. Again, you can use any of these reasons, or you can develop your own. But again, these are things that you should really take action on so your goal can be achieved. In addition to your overall score, the MAP system also gives us what we call a Lexile range. This is a number based on the Lexile framework scale that measures a student's reading ability. The Lexile scale is kind of like a thermometer, except rather than measuring temperature, it measures text complexity and the reader's skill level. So, looking back at your goal sheet, your Lexile number can be found below your overall RIT score. So, take a look at this chart and determine where you fall according to this score. Like the MapR performance level chart, it is also broken up by grade level and proficiency. When you're done, check the box that pertains to you to gain additional information and help. Overall, being reflective can prove very helpful. And remember, this is important. You can do it. Your teachers believe in you, so believe in yourself. Excellence is not being the best, it's doing your best.